Well, I'm not an expert. I'm not an authority. I'm someone who has been a murderer for almost 20 years.
Can you say how many people might be doing crimes like you were doing?
It would be a guess, but it's not. It's far more than 35. It isn't that impossible in this society. It happens.
Are there more people?
They didn't give up. She didn't give up. I did. I came in out of the cold. And what I'm saying is there are some people who prefer it in the cold.
Good people see.
A nice guy.
Did you like Kemper?
I like Kemper.
You were able to appear like an ordinary person, non-threatening to...
I lived as an ordinary person most of my life, even though I was living a parallel and increasingly sick life, other life.
He's so
One victim
normal,
let me back in the car. I locked myself out.
Or he seems so normal.
She opened the door for me. My gun was under the seat. What in the hell am I doing telling you that? Am I a masochist? Am I looking to be tormented further? I'm trying to show you just how awful this got, how commanding these rages got. I was raging inside. There was just incredible energies,
so normal.
positive and negative. Depending on
that audio, that 1984 audio, dog shit though. Y'all hear that?
And outside,
unless that's me.
I looked troubled at times. Other times I looked moody. Other times perfectly serene. Not very sane. But again, people weren't even aware of what was happening.
In 1972 and 1973, a series of murders shocked Northern California. College girls began to disappear while hitchhiking. 2 of the victims were picked up from the campus of the University of California at Santa Cruz. That's where Ed Kemper's mother was working as an administrative assistant.
You were involved in the campus because your mother worked there?
Yes. I was also involved in killing co-eds.
Yeah, this audio
my mother was
terrible,
associated
bro.
with college work, college co-eds, women, and had a very strong and violently outspoken position on men for much of my upbringing. My mother was a sick, angry, hungry, and very sad woman. I hated her, but I wanted to love my mother. And I watched the alcohol increase. I watched her social life drop off. I watched her get bizarre. She had terrible pain from her life, earlier life, her upbringing, a failed marriage with my father. I'm a constant reminder of that failure. I hate to distill it down into such, into one-word realities like that. There's a lot that leads into that happening.
He's so well-spoken. You think, when you think of like a serial killer, you think somebody that stank. They tweaking 24/7.
What was important to her, and I was destroying it.
Why did you actually kill the girls?
You seem like a damn professor and shit.
My frustration, my inability to communicate socially, sexually. I wasn't impotent, but emotionally I was impotent. I was scared to death of failing in male-female relationships. I knew absolutely nothing about that whole area.
So
Even
you back? Wait,
wait,
hold on.
I need to be able to really communicate.
That's not funny. That's not funny.
Enough,
that's
not
funny.
Why I began picking people
Wait,
up.
hold on.
And I'm picking up young women. And I'm going
can I
a
pause
little bit farther each time. I said.
So this nigga. Okay, so wait. So you packed the shorties? Cause you scared of? Hold on, wait. I gotta hear that again. Cause that doesn't seem like very good deductive reasoning there. Hold on.
A failed marriage with my father. I'm a constant reminder of that failure. I hate to distill it down into such, into one-word realities like that. There's a lot that leads into that happening, but that is what happened. They represented not what my mother was, but what she liked, what she coveted, what was important to her, and I was destroying it.
Why did you actually kill the girls?
My frustration, my inability to communicate socially, sexually. I wasn't impotent, but emotionally I was impotent. I was scared to death of failing in male-female relationships. I knew absolutely nothing about that whole area.
So, because you don't know about like dating and just like general friendships with women, you started packing them. What the fuck, bro? Like that's such an extreme, like most niggas like, oh, maybe I'll just go out to parties more, or I'll join a club or something, or join a fraternity or something so I could like get more acclimated into just talking to women and talking to people in general. This motherfucker was like, damn, I have trouble socializing. I might as well pack these hoes. What the fuck? Excuse me. That's so like, and again, he's a serial killer, so obviously he's fucking insane. But that's so ridiculous. There was no middle ground there. It was straight to like, man, I can't socialize correctly. Watch this, and just started going nuts. That's wow. Okay.
Even if
That's
just sitting down and talking
insanity.
with a young lady. I need to be able to really communicate, and ironically enough, that's why I began picking people up. And I'm picking up young women, and I'm going a little bit farther each time. It's a daring kind of a thing. At first there wasn't a gun. I was driving along. We'd go to a vulnerable place where there aren't people watching, where I could act out, and I say, no, I can't. And then a gun is in the car, hidden. And this craving, this awful, raging, eating feeling inside. I could feel it consuming my insides. This fantastic passion. It was overwhelming me. It was like drugs. It was like alcohol. A little isn't enough. At first it is. And as you adjust to that psychologically and physically, you take more and more and more. It's the same process. So it finally came down to the thing of, do I dare bring this gun out? Already realizing if that gun comes out, something has to happen. It was going to happen. I didn't see it then, but it was going to happen. I was playing a dangerous game with a loaded gun that got us all.
On one occasion,
No,
Kemper picked up
motherfucker,
two
it just got
roommates and-
Kimberly Ann, not nobody else. The fuck, it got us all. No, it did, motherfucker.
And the
It got
first
Kimberly
killing
Ann, and then
in May of
eventually you.
72. When that gun was pulled out, I launched it out. I had it under my leg, out of sight, parallel to my leg in the seat. It was something that had been thought out in fantasy, acted out, felt out hundreds of times before it ever happened.
Kemper drove them at gunpoint to a secluded area near a park. He took one of them into the woods, leaving the second girl tied in the car.
I just gone through a horrible experience with her roommate, stabbing her. And I was in shock because of that. I couldn't believe that it was that way. And I'm walking back there bewildered. I gotta kill her. I can't let her go. She's gonna tell on me. Everybody's gonna get me.
Yeah, nigga, you just...
She sees the blood on my hands. What are you doing? And she pulled back and she gasped. And I think, whoa, I don't want her to know what happened. I said, your friend got smart with me. She'd been getting really smart with me a lot, but I never hit her. I killed her, but I didn't hit her. I said, your friend got smart with me and I hit her. I think I broke her nose. You better come help. She's about to die. Why does she have to know that? I couldn't deal with telling her that. And when I attacked her, she didn't at first realize what was happening. It didn't go through. She had very heavy coveralls on. It knocked her right up into the lid of the car, but it didn't pierce the clothing. So it wasn't that swell knife anyway. I went out and bought a pawn shop, huge
Then the
knife.
nigga said, this knife
And,
ain't really doing it. Let me go
Kept on
cop
just
me another
mindlessly
one.
attacking. She falls back into the trunk. I just killed a young woman. I slammed down the lid of the trunk. She isn't dead. She's dying. And I panicked. I thought I just locked the car keys in it because I can't find them in my pocket. Oh my God, I locked them in the trunk. I'm kicking on the trunk lid and yanking on it. Oh no, I don't believe this. I started to run and I tripped over the gun that I'd had in my pants that I had totally forgotten was there. I stopped. I said, stop and think. I collected my wits. Check all your pockets. I picked the gun up. I stuck it back in my pants, now remembering I had one. I checked all my pockets, and there's the keys in the back pocket. I never put them in my back pocket.
Everyone makes mistakes, and that's what we have to hope for. The more mistakes they make, the better their chances.
Oh, I thought
I
this
was pretty
nigga.
slick.
I thought this nigga was
And when
sympathizing
I
with him. I
tripped
thought he
all
was gonna be
over
like, well,
myself, the first
everybody
two
makes mistakes. I was like,
The first
bro,
24 hours.
what the fuck
there
are
were
you
three
talking
clear
about?
times I should have been busted, and I wasn't.
Hey, Chef,
Because three
appreciate you,
different
brother. How you
individuals
doing,
from three different
baby?
Groups of people.
I got chat
scared.
down because I'm typing something up
And
at the
minded their
same
own
time
business.
as us watching this. So
And looked the other way.
appreciate you for the
Some of
follow,
the people
Chef.
who
I
are
love you,
committing
brother.
murders
Mwah.
even as we speak, if they're doing it by themselves and they tell no one about it, they could go on undetected until they decided to stop. And the police wouldn't catch them unless we just happened to roll up on them while they were doing it.
Even after police warnings against hitchhiking and an increased bus schedule on the campus, Kemper had no trouble picking up hitchhikers. Ironically, one warning.
It was getting easier to do. I was getting better at it. I was getting less detectable. I started flaunting that invisibility, severing a human head, 2 of them, at night in front of my mother's
Oh my
residence.
God.
With her at home, my neighbors at home upstairs, their picture window open, the curtains open. 11 o'clock at night, the lights are on. All they have to do is walk by, look out, and I've had it.
How are you able to, in 1 minute, have someone's head in your hands, and very shortly thereafter?
Living through a fantasy, however that would relate to that severed head. And then 5 minutes later, I'd put that away, and
This
there'd be a
nigga-
knock on the door.
In this
And I'd
nigga's
put
mind,
it away
he's in a fucking
and answer the door,
isekai
and the
anime,
landlady would be there.
and
we'd
he's
discuss
fucking packing people
Guess what?
and
Reality.
cutting their heads off.
her reality, not mine. Some people go crazy at that point. I felt it. It was one hell of a tweak. I mean, to just flip out and not know where I was.
Nigga said one
Be
hell of
walking
a
up the
tweak.
stairs with
Fuck
a
this
camera
guy,
bag
bro.
that belonged to a young woman.
Fuck
that had
him,
her
bro.
severed head in it.
He,
Walking up to my apartment, past a happy young couple coming down the stairs, who nodded and smiled
chat,
at me
y'all seeing this, bro?
as they went by. Good evening. And they're going out on a date where I'd love to be going. And I'm aware of both of these realities.
Then, bro,
And the
ask a
the
bitch on a
distance
date,
between us was
then.
So dramatic,
And not
so
and
amazing,
don't
so
do it to
violent.
Packer. First, wait, hold on, wait,
Did
hold
that
on, hold
really-
on, hold on. Hold on, chat, wait. Okay, so he was scared to ask shorties on a date or felt like he couldn't or whatever the case may be, right? Because, like, he just said he wanted to be on a date and, like, be normal or whatever. But he was getting the shorties in his car. Like, he wasn't kidnapping them. They was, like, willingly getting in his car to do whatever. Ain't that the same thing as asking a bitch out on a date? Am I tweaking? Chad, am I tweaking? If you are good enough to, like, ask a shorty to get into your car, which is crazy within itself, I feel like asking her on a date is way easier than asking her to just get in your car. And they were doing it. Which, again, in the 70s, people were a lot dumber than dumber in the sense of that, like, they would just get in random people's cars and just not think nothing of it. I don't know, am I tweaking right now? Because I feel like if you could ask a shorty, hey, yo, you trying to get my car and go for a drive? You basically just asked her on a date. The only thing you didn't have to do was pack her. I feel like he add extra steps to some shit or making some shit more complicated than he needed to, or am I tripping? I don't know. I feel like he could have made life a whole lot simpler than I don't know. Maybe
I
I'm
could feel the
tweaking.
wheels squeaking inside. That was really pulling on it. And I imagine at that point some people break. But I didn't literally go insane. I didn't get lost.
And all this time, Kemper was able to seem normal. He even hung out at a bar across the street from the courthouse, making friends with policemen, trying to pick up information.
They'd buy, like, were there any speculations on how they were dying?
Did the cops like you?
Like I said, a friendly nuisance. I got in the way. And it was deliberate. Again, friendly nuisances are dismissed.
How did you get the knowledge to outsmart the police?
Watching television, believe it or not.
That's crazy. That's nuts.
Joseph Wambaugh, police story. Got some tremendous insights into not just the gimmicks, the actual things, the tidbits that he would pick up from their procedures, but the mechanics behind that, the logic behind it, was I would not allow myself to walk into even a potential trap of behavior. And one of those was talking about those crimes too much to people, initiating conversations about that.
There was a memorial service for 2 of the victims.
Yes,
Were you tempted to go?
yes.
But
Crazy.
I'd seen one too many episodes of one too many crime shows where that is one of the available resources for clues. Tracking down the attenders. One man taking pictures of the people there to eliminate as potential suspect in the trunk. They come over and ask me about, excuse me, sir, do you know who lives in this house across the street here? Well, that house was 609 Harriet. You cross back over to this side into 609 Ord, and they were looking for me and didn't even know that, see what I mean? Bad news. Well, at any rate, we walk into the house to have them ask my mother about this other house, and I'm saying, hey, which 609 are you looking for? And they said, are you Ed Kemper? Yes. And it goes on. And I needed to find out what they were looking for, the murder weapon, the .22 automatic, or the .44 Magnum, and I don't want to advertise that I've got a whole bunch of guns. So I made a comment to divine between the two. And I said, yes, quite a little gun, isn't it? And he retorted, a .44 Magnum, I hope so. And I said, whew, okay, because that loaded .22 was under the front seat and guaranteed me an arrest right on the spot. And .44 was in the trunk.
Bro. We got the list done, chat.
I took
I don't got the pictures on it, but we got the list done. The scariest NBA players.
And I have a high-powered rifle with a scope on it.
you had some other stuff in the house, too, yes?
Yeah. I had the personal effects and identification of the last 2 co-eds that had been murdered about 2 months before, right next to the guns in the closet, in a box.
Could he have seen it?
No, but when he arrived, I'd back up and said, oh, excuse me. I just remembered something. And instantly he responds to what I'm saying, my hand moves, back we go outside, and he's still thinking, boy, this is a really nice and helpful guy here.
Some of these people do what you and I do to become better killers. They practice their trade.
Didn't Kemper stop himself toward the end of his career?
Kemper says he did. He says he could have gone on. He said he had fantasies of killing dozens more people, of leaving a trail of bodies across the country, and at one point he just got on the telephone and turned himself in. He said it was time for the killing to stop. In his case, he said publicly that it was his mother that he was killing all along. And when he killed his mother, that was the end.
Oh my God.
It's a very deep psychological observation from himself, but it may be very accurate.
It was springtime. It was April. And for 2 months I hadn't killed. And I said, it's not going to happen to any more girls. It's got to stay between me and my mother. And it's got to, I can't get away from her. We're still fighting. She's still belittling me. I'm like a puppet on a string, and I entertain her. She knows all my buttons, and I dance like a puppet with that pain. And it had even gotten physical, to where I had physically grabbed her and thrown her onto her bed, trying to emphasize a point that I was threatening to kill her. So here I pick up these 2 young ladies in Berkeley on Ashby Avenue. One has flowers in her hand, petite little dolls. They're in granny dresses, and they're hitchhiking, a couple of real experts. I want to see how together I am, if I can resist this temptation.
You going to Walnut Creek? Great.
Like, motherfuckers used to do this type of shit
They
and
get
think
in
it
my
was
car.
cool, like...
They want to go one way. I know they need to go the other. If they go the way they're insisting on, we're headed right back out to where the first 2 co-eds were murdered. And I'm saying to myself, oh my God, all I got to do is relax.
I just think people back in the day was too trusted.
I've got the
Because
gun
it's
in
like,
the
why
car.
would you... Well, I guess
Same
we
one I've been
technically
doing
get
it.
random people cars, too,
I
with, like,
insisted,
Lyfts
as
and
gently as I
Ubers,
could.
but at
I
least,
took
like,
them
that's
where
being
they
tracked.
needed to go, to their
I'm
college.
not getting into just a random motherfucker's car without no type of trail at all.
Thanks a lot.
That was 1 week before I murdered my mother. I said, she's got to die. and I've got to die, or girls like that are going to die. And that's when I decided I'm going to murder my mother. I knew a week before she died I was going to kill her.
He picked him up to see
and she
if
went
he
out to a
wouldn't
party, she
pack
got
them.
soused, she came home, went to sleep. I was woken up by that, came out, I walked up to her bed, she's laying there reading a paperback, as many thousands of nights before. And she said, "Oh, I suppose you're going to want to sit up all night and talk now." Shit.
Damn.
And I looked at her, I said, "No." I said, "Good night." And I knew I was going to kill her, you know? And I was so cold, it was so hard. And that's the first time in 10 years I've looked at it that way. I mean, that intensely, that honestly. It hurts. Because I'm not a lizard, I'm not from under a rock. I came out of her vagina. See? Came out of my mother. And in a rage, I went right back in. For 7 years, she said, I haven't had sex with a man because of you, my murderous son. This is one of our arguments.
What?
It's there. You know? A 6 young woman dead because of the way she raises her son and the way her son is raised, the way he grows up. God, I wish I had.
Bro.
Your grandmother and her daughter-in-law, your mother, were two women very important in your life, and you killed them both. Could you say what they were like that led them to the same fate?
Same thing that kept them from ever being friends. They were both aggressive, matriarchal women. They'd been the daughters of strong matriarchal women. I still loved my mother, and it's hard for somebody to comprehend that you murder your mother through love. It isn't a rational process. It's a very painful process. It isn't rational, and I've got to still live with that.
Why did you wind up giving yourself up?
It had to stop. It had to stop.
Oh,
once my
now
mother
it's
was
gotta
dead,
stop.
it was
Shut
almost
up,
a cathartic
nigga.
process at that
Shut
point.
up,
I got
nigga.
physically ill right then when she died. When I
Shut
murdered her.
up.
And once she was dead, there was no way I could back out. I had backed down from giving up 1,000 times. You know, I just used to get drunk and go sit out in front of the sheriff's department in a parking lot across the street on one of those old concrete parking berms, and I just sit there and say, no, I still can't. The clanging doors, I could still hear them. No, because it'll never open again. I don't need to. But I look back on that and wish I had earlier when I was saying those things to myself. The people who were later dead wouldn't be. The regret that came later would have not had to be. Those people, not things, those people would still be with their families, with their loved ones.
Bro.
They would have their own families. If I had had the courage to make that decision, instead of painting myself into the corner.
Where might you be if you'd never given in to the impulse to murder?
Where might I be? If my parole had been successful, I believe I'd be married, I'd have children, I'd be heading toward my first grandchildren.
4 viewers in the chat. That's, yeah, we're not gonna watch Dahmer because I think everybody know what the type of shit Dahmer was on. But like, he just mad confusing. Like, well, let me not say I understand. I get what he's saying about his mom, like treating him bad or whatever, and that caused him to be a little deranged. But at the same time, like I said earlier, you're getting the women to get into your car. So like, you could ask them out on a normal date and not do anything to them. Like, his whole thing was he had issues talking to women and interacting with women and like building relationships with them. But you're getting them into your vehicle to do this shit, to hurt them. So why don't you just ask them on a date? Because they're going with, I don't know. Maybe that's too rational for his mind. But he seemed like a real rational dude when he's sitting there talking. So I'm just like, if you're able to be like, hey, you want to go get my car go for a drive, you basically just asked her on a date. So why are you packing her at that point? Like, your original problem, you're facing it. But then you're packing them because you feel like you're not, I don't, that's crazy. It is, well, he's a serial killer, so obviously it's crazy, but like, bro.